When you truly focus on your craft, everything else becomes secondary. There's a beauty in silence when you're dedicated to mastering something. You don't need to announce your aspirations to the world every time you make progress. The results will speak for themselves. It's easy to get distracted by the noise, to seek validation before you've put in the hard work, but the real power lies in keeping your head down, staying focused, and letting your actions do the talking. In today's world, it's easy to get caught up in the desire for recognition, the immediate gratification of attention. Social media, for example, is a breeding ground for people seeking to broadcast every little step they take, hoping to get a pat on the back for simply showing up. But true greatness doesn't come from sharing every thought or every little achievement. It comes from the relentless pursuit of excellence, away from the spotlight, in the moments that nobody sees but you. And when you're working in silence, there's no pressure from others to live up to their expectations. You're not waiting for applause or compliments. You're just doing the work because that's what matters. You must also learn to enjoy the process, not just the outcome. Too many people rush to the finish line without appreciating the steps it takes to get there. The daily grind, the learning, the refining of your skills, it's all part of the journey. And when you embrace this, when you fall in love with the work itself, you stop worrying about what others think or what they might say. You find satisfaction in the challenge, in knowing that with every move, you're getting closer to where you want to be. You don't need a crowd to cheer you on every time you make progress, because the joy is in knowing you're building something solid, something worth having. When you work hard in silence, you're also preparing yourself for the moment when you do step into the spotlight. That moment will come, but it won't be because you were chasing it. It will come because you were too busy making your dreams a reality, too busy perfecting your skills and refining your craft. When that time arrives, people won't question how you got there. They'll see your results, and those results will tell the story of the work you've put in behind the scenes. Then for the moment, the effort, the late nights, the sacrifices, all of it will be written in the way you perform, in the quality of what you deliver, in the way you show up when it counts. Most importantly, working in silence allows you to preserve your energy. There's a tendency, especially in a world that constantly demands attention, to waste time seeking external validation. This can drain your focus and your passion. Every minute spent trying to prove yourself to others is a minute you could be using to improve your craft. It's about understanding that your value doesn't depend on the approval of others. Your value comes from your commitment, from your willingness to work when no one is watching. And when you prioritize that over anything else, you build a foundation that is unshakable. You must also develop the mindset that success is earned, not given. There's no shortcut to greatness. There are no hacks or quick fixes. It's about putting in the hours, staying disciplined, and not expecting immediate recognition. Working in silence means understanding that the journey will be long and filled with challenges, but the results will be worth it. When you've invested yourself fully, when you've poured everything into your craft without the need for praise, success becomes inevitable. But it's not something you chase. Instead, it comes naturally, a byproduct of the work you've put in and the person you've become along the way. The world doesn't need to hear your plans. It needs to see you execute them. So when you commit to working hard in silence, you allow your dedication to be your loudest statement. The work you put in will stand as your legacy, and it will resonate with the people who matter. And those who were there from the beginning who saw the grind and the struggle will recognize the power of that quiet determination. They'll understand that true greatness isn't about talking, it's about doing. Consistency is the cornerstone of success. It's easy to get excited about a new venture or goal, to put in a few days of hard work, and feel like you're on the right track. But the real test comes in maintaining that effort over time, even when the initial excitement starts to fade and the results aren't immediate. It's the person who keeps showing up day after day, no matter what, who eventually achieves greatness. Success is not a sprint, it's a marathon, and consistency is the pace that keeps you moving forward when the road gets tough. It's often said that success doesn't come overnight, and that's because it doesn't. It's built on the small, seemingly insignificant actions that you take consistently. When you commit to showing up, even on the days when you don't feel like it, when the passion isn't as strong as it once was, that's where the real growth happens. It's easy to put in a burst of effort when you're motivated, but consistency requires discipline, doing what needs to be done, even when motivation is nowhere to be found. That's what separates the ones who dream from the ones who achieve. Consistency also helps you to build momentum. When you're working towards something, every little step you take, every task you complete, no matter how small, adds up. At first, the progress may seem insignificant. You might not see the immediate results of your efforts, but over time, those consistent actions compound. You begin to notice the difference, and others will too. What started as a daily grind becomes a force of its own, pushing you forward, lifting you higher, and making the impossible seem possible. Without consistency, you're left with a series of disconnected efforts, none of which will get you closer to where you want to go. Being consistent also means learning to handle setbacks. On the journey to success, there will be failures, delays, and obstacles. What sets consistent individuals apart is their ability to keep moving, even when things don't go according to plan. They don't let a single failure derail them. Instead, they view it as a lesson, a part of the process. Consistency is about showing up not just when things are easy, but especially when they're difficult. It's about refusing to give up, even when progress feels slow or non-existent. Those who are consistent push through the tough times, knowing that they're still moving in the right direction, even if it doesn't feel like it in the moment. Another key aspect of consistency is developing a routine. Routines provide structure, and structure is essential for maintaining long-term effort. Without a routine, it's easy to let distractions take over, to let your goals slip further and further away. But when you create a routine that supports your objectives, you build a foundation of stability. Each day becomes an opportunity to get closer to where you want to be. No matter how small the step may seem, that routine is the silent engine that powers your progress, and over time you'll see how it's been shaping you, molding your habits, and refining your focus. Consistency doesn't mean doing the same thing in the same way forever. It means sticking with something long enough to see it through. It means adjusting, learning, and improving over time. It means trusting the process, even when you don't see immediate rewards. Consistency is about showing up, not just because you expect to get something back, but because you know that the work itself is shaping you into the person you need to be. Every effort, every task is part of the bigger picture, and even if it doesn't feel significant in the moment, it is. That's the power of consistency. It's not always glamorous, and it's not always easy, but it's the key to achieving the success you desire. By continuing to push forward, Day after day, you create the conditions for greatness to manifest. And if you push from a sense of self-importance to a commitment, embracing the grind is a mindset that separates those who achieve their goals from those who simply dream about them. It's easy to get swept up in the excitement of the initial stages of a project, to feel motivated by the potential and promise of success. But the grind, the hard, often tedious work that lies between the beginning and the end, is where the true test of character lies. It's in those long, difficult hours when nothing seems to be happening, when progress feels slow and the finish line is nowhere in sight, that you have to dig deep and remind yourself why you started in the first place. The grind is what will build the foundation of your success. And without it, even the most ambitious goals will remain out of reach. People often romanticize the idea of success, picturing it as something that happens in bursts of inspiration or big moments of breakthrough. But the reality is far less glamorous. The grind involves showing up every day, putting in the work, and doing it without expecting immediate rewards. It requires persistence in the face of frustration, patience in the face of setbacks, and a deep belief that your effort will eventually pay off. The grind is relentless, and it doesn't give you the luxury of skipping steps or cutting corners. It demands that you give your best day after day, even when the results aren't obvious. And when you're willing to embrace that, when you understand that the grind is as important as the end result, you set yourself on the path to real achievement. The grind also teaches you resilience. Success is rarely a straight line. There are bumps, detours, and challenges that will test your resolve. But when you embrace the grind, you learn to roll with the punches. Each obstacle is an opportunity to grow stronger, each failure a lesson that shapes you into a better version of yourself. The grind is what prepares you for the toughest moments, teaching you to keep moving forward even when it feels like you're not making progress. It's easy to give up when things get hard, but those who understand the value of the grind push through the difficult times, knowing that each challenge is just another part of the journey. One of the hardest parts of the grind is learning to be patient. In today's fast-pacing world, we're conditioned to expect quick results. We're used to instant gratification, to seeing immediate returns for our efforts. But when you're embracing the grind, you have to let go of the idea that success will come on your timeline. It takes time to master your craft, to refine your skills, and to build something that lasts. The grind requires you to trust the process, even when the results aren't visible right away. Patience isn't just a virtue in this journey, it's a necessity. The more you understand this, the easier it becomes to keep going when the rewards seem far off. The grind teaches you that success is not just about what you achieve, but about who you become in the process. Another powerful aspect of embracing the grind is learning to stay focused on the long-term vision, even when the immediate rewards are few and far between. The grind can sometimes feel thankless, especially when you're putting in so much effort without seeing immediate results. But it's in these moments, when the grind seems the hardest, that you build the character necessary for success. The ability to stay focused on your vision, to keep working toward your goals, even when no one is watching or acknowledging your efforts, is what sets the successful apart from those who give up. It's not about the accolades or the recognition. It's about the work itself and the satisfaction that comes from knowing you're doing what needs to be done regardless of external validation. Embracing the grind also means learning to enjoy the process. When you stop focusing solely on the end result and start appreciating the effort, the learning, and the growth that happen along the way, you begin to shift your perspective. The grind isn't something to be endured, it's something to be embraced. The journey becomes just as fulfilling as the destination, and every small step forward becomes a victory. Every small step forward becomes a victory. This mindset shift allows you to stay motivated even during the toughest moments because you're no longer just working toward the end goal. You're working for the growth, the improvement, and the satisfaction of knowing that every moment of effort is making you better. The grind is what turns dreams into reality. It's the unglamorous, often overlooked part of the journey that requires discipline, patience, and persistence. But it's also the part of the journey that builds the most character, teaches the most valuable lessons, and creates the strongest foundation for success. Embracing the grind means committing to your goals no matter how hard it gets and trusting that the effort will pay off in the end. When you choose to let your work speak for itself, you shift your focus from seeking external validation to letting the results of your efforts be the measure of your success. Too often, people become obsessed with telling the world what they're capable of, announcing their intentions and desires to anyone who will listen. While it's important to have confidence and ambition, the true test of your abilities comes when you allow your actions to do the talking. When you're truly committed to excellence, you don't need to tell everyone what you can do. You show them through your work. One of the most powerful things you can do is to let your results reflect your dedication and your skill. In a world full of noise, where everyone has an opinion and is constantly sharing their thoughts, there's something profoundly impactful about letting your work stand alone. People are drawn to results, not promises. If you're constantly talking about your dreams, your plans, and your ideas, you risk becoming more about words than action. But when you focus on the work, on producing something meaningful and of value, your reputation is built on what you've accomplished, not what you've said. Start bettering on the work and making the most out of life every day. This doesn't mean you should ignore the importance of communication or collaboration. Rather, it's about finding balance. The emphasis here is on letting your actions and achievements be the proof of your capability. In a world where many are busy promoting themselves, it's refreshing and effective to let the quality of your work do the talking. When you're working hard behind the scenes, putting in the effort day after day, the results become your story. You don't need to shout it from the rooftops. Your dedication and commitment will be evident in the outcomes, and those who recognize your effort will understand the value without needing to hear about it. Another key benefit of letting your work speak for itself is the sense of fulfillment that comes with it. When you're not caught up in the need for external praise, you're free to focus entirely on the process. You do the work for the sake of the work, not because you're seeking approval or recognition. This shift in mindset allows you to find joy in the journey, not just the destination. You become more interested in perfecting your craft, in refining your skills, and in growing as an individual. The desire to be great becomes internal rather than driven by the opinions of others. When you take pride in what you produce, regardless of the feedback, you're more likely to stay motivated and persistent, especially when the going gets tough. Number 2, what do you desire to be and who do you want to be? What does it mean to you? And at the same time, letting your work speak for itself allows you to avoid unnecessary distractions. In a world where everyone is trying to stand out and grab attention, it's easy to get caught up in the noise. The pressure to constantly market yourself, to present your accomplishments to others, can be exhausting. When you choose to focus on letting your work do the talking, you avoid these distractions. You're not constantly seeking approval or worrying about how you're perceived. Instead, you can direct your energy into creating something of substance, something that will stand the test of time. Your value isn't tied to how many likes, shares, or comments you get. It's tied to the work you're producing and the legacy you're building. This approach also fosters a deeper level of confidence. When you focus on doing the work and allowing your results to speak for themselves, you don't rely on validation from others to feel good about what you're doing. Your self-worth is no longer tied to someone else's approval. Instead, you learn to trust your abilities and your judgment. You're not looking to impress others with your words or your promises. You're letting your work be the testimony of your capability. That inner confidence, built on the foundation of tangible results, is stronger and more sustainable than any fleeting praise you might receive. Letting your work speak for itself also has a way of silencing the critics. There will always be people who doubt your ability or question your decisions. When you're focused on producing results rather than engaging with every naysayer, you give yourself the freedom to continue moving forward without being derailed by negativity. Those who doubt you may talk, but your work will ultimately prove them wrong. As your success grows, so will the respect others have for you. Not because you asked for it, but because you earned it through your dedication, your consistency, and your results. At the end of the day, the most lasting impact you can make comes from the work you do, not the words you speak. When you let your results tell the story, you give others the opportunity to see what you're capable of without having to explain it. Your reputation is built on the value you create, and that value speaks louder than anything you could say. By focusing on your craft, dedicating yourself to the process, and letting the outcome of your efforts shine, you ultimately build a legacy that is undeniable and respected.